Last week, we enjoyed a successful elk hunt here in Arizona with my hunter, Chris Scruggs from Missouri. Join us again this week as we follow along with Nick Hart and my cousin Tim Stanley doing the guiding here at Elk Camp. I'm Steve Chappell, and welcome to Elk Camp. You know, I'm very fortunate here in Arizona to have the help of some great people and some great guides. And one of those guides, Tim Stanley, just so happens to be my cousin as well. And you know, Tim and I's style of elk hunting is very similar. Tim has really developed into a phenomenal caller and elk hunter. He calls in a lot of bulls. Every hunter that he's with just has a phenomenal experience hunting with him. And so I was very confident to team Nick up with my cousin Tim, and I knew they were going to hit the woods and have a lot of action together.
I have been watching Steve's hunting videos on YouTube and his TV show for the past 10 years. And I knew a long time ago that I wanted to use Steve to be my guide. And this year when I drew my Unit 9 tag, I gave him a call and booked the hunt.
Of course, Unit 9's, in my opinion, the best unit in the state. The guys who wait X amount of years to draw the tag are always enthused to be here, excited for the hunt. Unit 9 is usually great rut action. And the best thing about Unit 9 is you never know when you're going to call in the biggest bull you've ever seen.
What I looked forward to the most for this hunt was being able to learn from a professional on how to approach an archery or a rifle hunt during the rut for elk. And Tim definitely taught me a lot of stuff. Tim's style of elk hunting was pretty aggressive, and he had to be because this year it's very dry and there's not a lot of feed out for the elk right now. So the rut is not into high gear as you would expect it to be during this hunt. Tim adapted flawlessly, and immediately since day one we've been getting into the bulls every day.
Evenings are hit and miss. They're boring. I don't enjoy them, but it's a necessity. We go out to where we think there's elk bedded, try to post up close, and then we give them time to get started on their own bugling. The only problem with that is a lot of times you have 30 minutes to make stuff happen. So our first evening, we actually went out right about 6 o'clock. We had a bull sound off within 500 to 600 yards from us. We put a move on him, and we caught him as he fed through a little opening. A little bit to our right, we had another bull bugle, so we kind of took off after him. As we got closer to him, I hit the cow call a couple times, and a smaller 6-point come in between us and the herd bull and did like he always does. They kind of block you and stay there for a while. So it kind of blew our chances to get the herd bull, but it was still cool to have 2 encounters in an evening, considering evenings are usually pretty dull.
Elk Camp with Steve Chappell is brought to you by Bergara Rifles. Our barrels make the difference. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, we call the game. Zeiss Sports Optics, confidence in the toughest conditions. Scree, extreme mountain gear. And by Steve Chappell's Zero Hunt Fees. Experience Arizona elk hunting with zero hunt fees. Elk Camp with Steve Chappell is brought to you by Bergara Rifles. Our barrels make the difference.
So the second morning we started out in the gray light across a big burn, and the elk just weren't comfortable to stop, so they kind of were moving to bed. We kind of had to hoof it up in there. We finally got where we had some strips of timber and started working the bulls.
So I've never hunted archery elk or rifle elk for the rut. So I've never hunted rut elk, and it was a big learning for me. There was a lot of things that I had no clue about, like when to call, when to bugle, when to do a cow call. And Tim was awesome at teaching me all that stuff throughout the hunt.
We called in a smallish 5-point to probably 10 yards, pretty close. We were right on the edge of the herd where we could start doing some good.
It was awesome. We were surrounded by bulls and they were coming into us, and one of them came within about 15 yards of us, walking pretty close. It was an awesome experience to see a bull that close walking by us.
What'd you think about that, Nick? That was pretty cool. It was pretty close. Yeah, it was. Let's go see if we can get on this one up here real quick. So we just finished up the second morning. We were on elk all the way up through this country. Saw a couple smaller bulls, had lots of bugles. Had a couple pretty darn close to us. What do you think? It's pretty good. Good time. Yeah. Awesome morning.
This episode of Elk Camp is sponsored by Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. We call the game.
Hey guys, for this week's tip, I want to talk to you about my Trophy Wife Cow Call by Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Now this is an open reed call that has a mylar reed, and it has a very full three-dimensional nasally quality to it, and the bulls absolutely love it. Now, two keys for me when I blow this call is, first, I want to wrap my lips around my teeth and blow the call with my lips on the reed. Secondly, I want to be sure that I get the air from deep down in my stomach rather than just huffing air out of my mouth. It makes a big difference in the tonal quality of the call. And then I want to blow the call in a very smooth, controlled manner. So now that you know how I blow this call, let's hit the field and hear what this call sounds like in a hunting situation. You can pick up my Trophy Wife cow call at your local sporting goods dealer, or you can go online and order it there. I want to wish all of you the best of luck on your elk hunts, and thank you for watching Elk Camp TV.
This episode of Elk Camp is sponsored by Steve Chappell's Zero Hunt Fees. Experience Arizona elk hunting with zero hunt fees. This episode of Elk Camp is sponsored by Zeiss Sports Optics. Confidence in the toughest conditions.
So each day as the hunt progressed, Tim and I were sharing the same camp together, and so I was getting reports from Tim about the hunt. And it sounded like that despite the challenging conditions with the drought and the really subdued bugling, that Tim was still getting Nick into some bulls, and I knew it was just a matter of time until Nick hung his tag on a great bull.
So morning 3, we started out in the burn again, and the elk were moving off pretty quick like they always do in there. They don't like to be exposed in the open when the sun comes up.
On the third morning, we got it set up close to the same area as we were on day 2. Tons of bugles. This herd had at least 10 bulls in it.
We had 2 bulls kind of coming together, one from the right, one from the left, but there was multiple bulls. The 2 bigger sounding bulls kind of come together right in front of us.
This guy's trying to come to you. He's gonna come.
I hit the cow call a few times, had the one from the right come right straight at us. As I seen him coming through the trees, I was able to get glass on him, and I told Nick he's not a shooter. And Nick turned around and looked at me and said, "Are you sure?" And I told him, yeah, he's not a shooter.
He was good enough for me to shoot, but my guide convinced me to hold off and wait for something bigger. So that's what we did.
We had another pretty steep climb to get where they went. We got up and over, got into a little basin, just a lot of activity right there.
If you draw a premier tag like a Unit 9 or Unit 10 early bull hunt for archery or rifle, I would highly recommend getting a guide. They're going to be able to help you with things that you weren't prepared for. We've gotten into bulls every day, multiple times. Because of Tim's pretty aggressive hunting style, he wasn't going to let a mountain stop us from going after these elk. So we hiked up a pretty good mountain that morning to go after these elk. and it's pretty much exactly what you would expect of elk country. Awesome landscapes, the views were amazing, and just going after those elk was awesome.
Elk Camp with Steve Chappell is brought to you by Bergara Rifles. Our barrels make the difference. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. We call the game. Zeiss Sports Optics. Confidence in the toughest conditions. Scree Extreme Mountain Gear. And by Steve Chappell's Zero Hunt Fees. Experience Arizona elk hunting with zero hunt fees. This episode of Elk Camp is sponsored by Scree Extreme Mountain Gear.
So this morning was day 5 out of 7. Feeling a little stressed. It's getting kind of winding down. A little stressed because Nick's such a great guy. You know, his first elk hunt, I really wanted to put elk in front of him so he had the opportunity to take something home like he wanted. As we're kind of scrambling to find a bull, it's super quiet, not much going on at all. We're hustling, trying to make something happen for the morning. It's getting a little later in the morning, I'm even more nervous.
We were moving around throughout the area, listening to bugles. We were not getting many responses at all. So we decided to go to other areas of that unit and went south, and we were moving along this ravine, checking on some tanks, and we came back up. As we were coming through, we saw some elk.
So as we get set up, Nick's off to my left. He's got his rifle on a tree to steady up. We've got probably 4 cows out in front of us, and they keep looking back over their shoulder to our right. And I think I told Nick, I said, I think the bull's in the back.
My heart rate was soaring. I couldn't even keep the rifle steady when I'm holding it against the tree. It was that awesome. Nick put an ace shot on him, double lung. The Bergara rifle was amazing. It did the job perfect.
So it's the 5th morning of the hunt. We've had lots of action, lots of encounters. We were dogging some elk this morning down through this valley. We finally caught up to them. They piled through. The bull was in the back. Nick made a great shot. Hit him hard. We're gonna go up and look and see if we can find him right now. You had a good hunt, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a ton of elk over the past few days. Had a great time. Let's go get this guy. Let's do it.
The blood trail started to get a little thin there for a little bit. We got kind of worried. At least I was. Tim wasn't worried. And within a few minutes, Tim saw the antlers, and there it was.
Weighty well telling.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice little sticker right here.
Yeah. Told you I thought he had 7 on that one side. It's kind of 7, I suppose. Look at his G1s though.
Yeah, those are real nice.
Things are 18 inches probably.
This one's pretty big too.
Yeah. Beautiful bull.
I kept thinking about how I've been waiting 16 years for this to finally happen, to draw on this tag, to go on this awesome hunt. The sense of relief of filling my tag, because it was day 5, I was kind of worried, but Tim wasn't. But it was just an amazing feeling to finally get to hunt here with professionals like this.
So we just had tons of laughs. Kept it light the whole time. Everybody was positive. Nobody got down. It was getting close to the end, but everybody stayed positive. Just a fun hunt. Overall, probably one of my most memorables. I'll look back on this one and wonder how we got it done, but we did.
All said and done, this was the best hunt I've ever been on, and I can't thank Tim and Steve enough for making this happen.
Hey guys, if you'd like to experience a hunt with us here in Arizona like the one that you just witnessed, I have a program called Zero Hunt Fees, and what it does is it allows you to come hunt with us on any budget. So to find out more about this great program, log on to zerohuntfees.com. Feel free to reach out and get in touch with me, and one day you could be sharing a hunt with us like the one that you just witnessed.